the recording. Okay, so primarily these are the outline for a business plan. All right, so let's take them one by one. Now, the cover page and table of contents. The cover page of the business plan is just like when you finish your project work. You are required to write the name of the institution, the title of your thesis. Then you also write your name, your index number, and the year which you did you intend to carry out your project. When you are presenting your proposal, those are some of the details that you submit. In the same vein, when it comes to the cover page of a business plan, some of the information that we expect you to put there is the name that you have adopted for your company, your address, email address, your telephone number, the dates where you are writing it, and the contact information of the lead entrepreneur. So the one who will be liaising with the perhaps investors and also explaining the vision to other employees that will be joining. And if possible, the company's website, because some people would like to take a casual look at what you've so far put up there and the propositions you are advancing as far as your creative ideas are concerned. So in this current dispensation, if you are able to create social media accounts, such as a Facebook account and a Twitter account, it will be a good way of projecting your business to the external world. So all these details can be added to the cover page, usually at the bottom part of it. Then with respect to the table of contents, you are supposed to detail out all the issues that you will be covering in the business plan with their corresponding page numbers. And it is appropriate to mention at this point in time that you have to take your time to prepare the table of content, simply because if you say executive summary is at page 5 and the target audience picks the plan and goes to page 5 and they are seeing your industry analysis, they will not take you serious. So these days, there are so many softwares you can be using to synchronize your table of contents with the actual content as you write. And I'm sure you did some of these things in your MIS. Now, the executive summary. The executive summary can be likened to what we call an abstract in project work. So in project work, you are at some point in time required to comprehensively summarize all the things that you intend to do at the proposal stage. So that is what we construe as executive summary. Now, the executive summary also basically is a comprehensive summary of the entire nitty-gritties of your business. So the executive summary shouldn't exceed 2 single-space pages. In fact, some avenues even require that it should be at most 1.5 page. They want it to be as succinct as possible. But this should not dissuade you to be leaving out some salient components. The trick in writing the executive summary is that we expect to find bits and pieces of all the other sections of your business plan craftily written in there. So you can do this by picking or summarizing each of your section in a paragraph and be paraphrasing it in the executive summary section. You should also note that the executive summary should emphasize the key points of your plan, and it should be able to excite your targeted audience. So when a typical prospective investor grants you the audience to go through your business plan, it is your executive summary that should be able to incentivize them to put their money into your business. So you have to take your time to do it very well. Now, even though it is the first section of the business plan, it is actually the last part that is written. I'm repeating. Even though the executive summary is the first section that your targeted audience will read when they start perusing the document, it is actually the last item that gets written. And the reason is simple. Before you can write a good executive summary, you will have to finish with all the remaining sections so that you will pick paragraphs from each section, put it together to get your executive summary. That is why we are saying that even though it is the first item you will see when you start reading through the business plan, it is the last item that is actually written. All right. Now, some key insights about the executive summary. In many instances, an investor will ask for a copy of a firm's executive summary and will ask for a copy of the entire plan only if the executive summary is sufficiently convincing. And that was the point I was making, that you should present the executive summary craftily, convincingly, so that it will incentivize them. In fact, it will sustain their interest to go beyond the summary to understand exactly what you want to do in terms of the details. So you must take your time to make cogent arguments and presentations in the executive summary. Now, industry analysis as the second session. When we talk about the industry analysis, it is basically the section which characterizes or describes the industry within which the business intends to operate in. And when I say its characteristics, what is the size of that particular industry? What is its annual growth rate? What are the sales projections over there? So if you are entering into an industry where getting these numbers is very, very difficult, then you might find yourself wanting. So you will have to create your own numbers by, first of all, going around to pick some of the dominant firms in that particular industry. And based on that data, you'll be able to ascertain some of these projections. Now, some of the items typically included in this section include the industry's size, growth rates, sales projections, the industry structure, whether it is fragmented or it is dominated by large firms. When we say it is fragmented, it means that it is not so much saturated. And a lot of people perhaps are not giving that particular industry so much attention. But when they say it is dominated, it means you have giant firms, and so you should be wary of possible cutting-throat competitions. Then the nature of participants in there too. What are the key participants in there in terms of the actors and then the customers? And what are their demographics? This information will be very much useful, especially when you start talking about your marketing strategy, because if the industry is such that it is highly patronized by in terms of social stratification, those that are well-to-do in society or the richer members of the population, then it means you also have to know how you make your products and services much valuable and prestigious. In the same vein, if it is highly patronized by youth, the youthful age, then it means that in terms of your advertisements and your attempt to appeal to their taste and preferences, you should also bring it down to their level. So that is what you mean by the number of nature of participants, basically their demographics. Key success factors. Those that are thriving in that industry, what is helping them to chalk all their successes? Is it the regulations from government? Is it the particular technology that they are making good use of? Is it that they've carved a niche for themselves, and so on and so forth? Then the issue of industry trends, which we looked at last week, which has to do with government, political and government regulatory agencies and the trends they are setting, marketing trends, technological trends, demographic trends, and so on and so forth. And the long-term prospects of the industry. Is the industry a sector that you foresee that it has future, or it is an industry which is cropping up because of an impending challenge that the entire society is facing, so that if we are able to contain the challenge, then there will be no need for that particular industry? All these information have to be made clearly at the industry analysis session. Now, what are some of the key insights of this analysis? Before a business selects a target market, it should have a good grasp of its industry, including where its promising areas are and where its points of vulnerability are. So you can ascertain this by embarking on what we call SWOT analysis, where you will know your strengths and weaknesses as an enterprise and the opportunity that exists out there for you to capitalize on, and the possible threats that you are likely to face. Now, the industry that a company participates in largely defines the playing field that a firm will participate in. So if the industry is fragmented, then obviously the playing field is also likely to be fragmented. And if it's saturated by giant firms, then the nature of competition in there too will be what? Massive. Now, the next section of the business plan document is what we call the company description. So basically, what is the background of the enterprise you intend to run? Now, usually the section commences with a general presentation or description of the company. So generally, what is the company into, and why did they decide to venture into that particular line of business? So what is the history behind it? And if the history is something that will actually grasp the attention of the intended audience, you have to see the opportunity to actually narrate how you even came about it. Was it that you were encountering a challenge, and by finding a solution to the problem you were facing, you decided to commercialize it by making it an enterprise? So all those nitty-gritties come under the company history. We also expect to see the mission statement of the company, basically a definite statement indicating why the company stands for or why it exists in the first place, what it aspires to become in the future as far as its vision is concerned. Then the main products and services that the company thinks it can actually add value to by churning out. The legal status and ownership of the company, who owns the business, and how the ownership is split. Is it in form of partnership? Is it something that is solely owned, or is it something that is going to be created as a limited liability company registered under the Register of Companies, and so on and so forth? All those details must be unequivocally opined over here. Now, what are some of the key insights as far as the company description is concerned? So, whereas at a first glance, this session may seem less important than the other sessions, it is actually construed as extremely important. It is important because it demonstrates to your reader that you know how to translate an idea into a business. Think about it this way. You have a particular vision you want to achieve in the near future, and you have also um, identified your mission for being in existence. You have identified certain goods and services that you can bring into the world. Now, how do you converse all these ideas on paper and present it convincingly? That is the expectation we aspire to see when we read the company description section. Then the market analysis. The market analysis. So unlike the industry analysis, which focuses on the industry in which a firm intends to compete within, the market analysis fractionalizes this industry into segments and further on zero in on a specific segment which the firm thinks they have a competitive advantage. In other words, when you think about the bigger picture and you identify a particular industry that you want to go into, as a new establishment or as an infant firm that is now trying to find its feet and convince prospective investors, it will be appropriate for you to identify a market segment where you think readily you have an upper hand. Mario, so your microphone is on. Please put it off. So having identified this segment of the industry, then you also analyze its in terms of the main participants over there, so that you can present moving targets to appeal to their tastes and preferences. Now, in the course of market segmentation, you can use parameters such as the geography of the industry, the demographics of the participants in the industry, the psychographics of the participants in the industry, and so on and so forth. So that if you are targeting only women in terms of gender, okay, then it means that you must be mindful about the way you even market the goods and services out there. If you are targeting people who are high income earners, then it means that you can increase the price of the product without compromising the quality. At the end of the day, they have money and they will be willing to even pay more just to get the quality goods and services, and so on and so forth. Now, what are some of the key insights? Research indicates that most startups do not service their entire industry. In fact, it will be a Herculean task, because think about it this way: you are now entering the industry and you are now professing beautiful ideas to your colleagues and suitable investors. So it will be a crash head on when you decide to target the entire industry. Instead, they focus on servicing a specific market, so that becomes your target within the industry. It is important to include a section in the market analysis that deals with the behavior of the consumer. So here we are talking about consumer behavior, the beliefs and practices which makes consumer behave the way they do as far as their patronage of goods and services are concerned. Okay. And this employs a little bit of consumer psychology. So by capitalizing on consumer behavior and understanding why the consumers within your target market behave the way they do, then it will also inform the sort of strategies you employ whenever you are marketing your goods and services to them. Then the next section is the economics of the business, the economics of the business. This section basically addresses the logic of how profits will be earned and how the industry, the enterprise is likely to break even in their germinal stages and when they are even likely to start earning profits. Don't forget, investors will not be interested in putting their money into a firm where the money was sunk and they will not be making anything out. So this portion of the business plan is also very much important in the sense that it will be in a position to present the right numbers to the investors. Benedictus, your microphone is on. It will present compelling figures as far as projected profits are concerned, as far as initial losses which are likely to be incurred is concerned when the firm projects to break even and when they even project to make supernormal profit and so on and so forth. So key indices or projects of this section include the revenue drivers. What are the various ways that the starters of the business believe the business can earn money? So is it by selling only